In this video, we'll discover about the clutter effect. These days, we've all become more used to living with a lot of things in our lives. Yet those things can get out of control and can lead us to feeling overwhelmed, becoming less productive, struggling to focus, and lacking in motivation. This is the clutter effect. Yet many people have no idea just how disorganized their lives have become. They've become so used to juggling the many elements in it, from relationships and children to careers and friends, that they can't see the woods from the trees. Eventually, though, the confusion will become so great that they won't be able to function effectively at all. Therefore, knowing what clutter actually is, how to identify it, and how to eliminate it lies at the heart of achieving overall happiness and success. What is clutter? When you think about clutter, you probably imagine piles of magazines and paperwork strewn over your countertops and mounds of junk on the stairs waiting to be taken up. It's true that this is clutter, but it's only the physical kind. Your mind can become cluttered too. Intrusive thoughts, an ongoing list of must-dos, regrets of missed opportunities, unfinished work, and worries about things that might never happen are all examples of mental clutter that make us feel out of control. The less organized your mind becomes, the less you feel able to deal with the challenges that life throws your way. There is an endless cycle formed between physical and mental clutter. The more disorganized your mind, the more disorganized your home, workspace, and life in general will become. Meanwhile, if you're living and working in a cluttered environment, it's inevitable that your mind will become cluttered and disorganized too. The vicious circle leads to ongoing problems as you lack the ability to break the chain, get rid of the mess, and take your life back. Which areas of your life does clutter affect? As we've already pointed out, clutter affects both your environment and your emotional and mental well-being. Both types of clutter can have a major impact on various areas of your life. The first obvious area that can feel the impact is your home. Mess can begin to build up as tasks get left undone. Soon a pile of magazines has grown on the coffee table. A stack of shoes is thrown in the corner in the front porch, and clothes are piled up on the bedroom chairs. The more messy and more disorganized your home becomes, the harder it is to get motivated to sort it out, and the more negative the mental and emotional impact becomes of living in such an environment. The second key area that is badly affected is the workplace. A lack of organization in the office leads to all kinds of issues. Low productivity, an unprofessional first impression for visitors or clients, and poor morale are just some of the problems that arise from a disorganized working environment. Again, once the office has become cluttered, it becomes more difficult to take action to organize it. As the mess mounts up, the worse the associated problems become. The third area that feels the impact of clutter is your personal relationships. This is something that can often be overlooked when considering the effect of disorganization on your life. A messy home puts a strain on your family life and can lead to serious tensions with your partner, children, or other loved ones. A disorganized workplace can make working relationships with colleagues, employees, or managers more challenging and can lead to disagreements that cause long-term problems in your career. Not only that, but clutter in friendships can lead to toxicity, further stress, and even more obligations that need to fit into your already overloaded schedule. What causes clutter? There are many causes of clutter. Some are physical and others are emotional or mental. Some are also a lot more obvious than others. Perhaps the first and most obvious cause of clutter has to be excess physical possessions. Most of us are guilty of accumulating items simply because we can't bear to get rid of them, even if we don't really want or need them. There are gifts that we receive for birthdays and holidays, souvenirs from vacations gone by. Odds and ends have piled up over the years that should really have gone in the trash, but which have, inexplicably, been put in a drawer or on a shelf for later and allowed to remain there. The trouble with this type of clutter is that it builds up slowly over time, so you don't really realize how much it has gotten out of hand, until one day you look around and see the extent of the problem. The second cause of clutter is having excessive commitments in your schedule. We've already mentioned how busy modern lives have become. Whereas in the past, lives were much simpler. People went to work, came home, spent time with their family or their friends, and then went to bed ready to do it all again the next day. These days, there is so much more to consider. Careers have, in many cases, become considerably more high-pressured, with the expectations placed on workers at all levels much higher than ever before. Family lives are also more complex than ever before, with many people having divided or blended families. Struggling to fit in contact with children, dealing with stepchildren, or having to handle an ex-partner along with a current one can all increase the pressures on everyday living. Then, of course, there are all the other elements that weigh on our minds. An endless stream of social media and 24/7 access to news can easily lead to us becoming overwhelmed with negativity. Meanwhile, we feel the pressure to make the most of our limited leisure time by caving into the demands from friends, colleagues, and family members to attend different events and participate in various activities. Add to this the additional pressure that we pile on ourselves to work out, to improve ourselves, and to be the best that we can be in every respect. It's no wonder that so many of us struggle to cope as we sink ever deeper under a heap of obligations, commitments, and requirements. Cluttered home equals cluttered mind. How to reduce the mess. First, let us take a look at the home. A cluttered home leads to a cluttered mind. Then we'll examine some ways that you can reduce the mess so you can regain some essential control over your life. The problem of the cluttered home. Why do we end up acquiring clutter in our homes? There are several reasons behind this. Let us look at some of the most common. You don't know when it's time to get rid of items. In many households, there's a lot of confusion about when the time has come to sell, donate, shred, or throw away items when they're no longer used or needed. You don't have anywhere to store things properly, or you just don't know how to store it. You have no organization routine to follow in the home. You don't have sufficient storage space or solutions. You persistently keep common clutter sources around. You regularly buy things that you don't need or use. You lack the ability to let go of items, especially those with some sentimental value. Many of us can relate to at least one of the above statements. The key is to identify which are applicable to you so that you can then work on ways of addressing them. How does a cluttered home lead to a cluttered mind? Clutter in the home ends up having a negative impact on your mind, your body, and your overall health. There is a direct link between high levels of stress and excess clutter in the home, and this has been proven in several studies over the past few years. Why is this the case? The home is supposed to be an oasis of calm, a peaceful refuge, and a comfortable space where you can unwind and chill out. How can you do that if there's disorganization and mess everywhere? Clutter in the home impacts negatively on your ability to concentrate and focus. There are distractions everywhere, and this causes your mental faculties to become worn down. Frustration is then the inevitable result, which causes stress to build up. When you can't focus properly, your ability to problem solve and be creative is also inhibited. Tests have shown that people who have increased clutter at home also have higher cortisol levels in their bodies. Cortisol is a stress hormone that triggers a flight or fight response. When levels of this hormone are high, we cannot truly relax or unwind effectively, and we're constantly in a state of high alert. Meanwhile, those whose homes are tidier, more organized, have happier and less stressed lives. One further problem that clutter can cause in terms of mental health is the feeling of guilt that can build up over time. Knowing that you should be keeping your home spotless but not seeming able to find the motivation or the time to get the job done can increase anxiety levels. That makes it even harder to relax or enjoy yourself during your potential downtime. You're constantly thinking about all the many tasks and chores that are incomplete and that still remain to be done. The areas to tackle. The average home has many areas where clutter can begin to gather and accumulate. However, there are 4 key areas that you should look at first when preparing to get organized and to take back control of your life. First, take a look at your floors. Do you have piles of items in the corner of the room? Are there furnishings that you simply don't need to take up space in your home? Take another look at your home's footprint. Decide how you can use the space more effectively so you can move more easily between rooms and enjoy maximum openness throughout. Secondly, take a look at your drawers. Are they full of junk? Have they been emptied and sorted recently? Are there items in there that should really have gone in the trash years ago? Even if there's no junk in there, have they been tidied and organized? Thirdly, take a look at your closets. Do you really wear all those clothes? Are all those shoes really necessary? Is there a better way to store those sweaters? Could you find new storage solutions to maximize the available space in your closet? Fourthly, Take a look at your shelves. While these may be the last area that you consider organizing, it can be the place in your home where most clutter appears. How often have you put a book, a toy, or a pen on a shelf and thought you could move it soon, but then never got around to it? Do you regularly tidy up the books, CDs, or DVDs in your units? It's time to give them a once-over to get rid of any items that don't belong on a shelf. Guide to organizing your home. Are you ready to organize your home to reclaim your life, but aren't sure where to start? Then here's a complete guide to help you begin that task. A systematic approach. To be successful in organizing your home, the key is to take a systematic approach. Decluttering your home is a major task, so tackling it in stages is a good idea. You may decide to begin with a single room and thoroughly sort it out before you move on to the next room. Or you may choose to tackle a single zone within one room, for example the cabinets, before moving on to other elements within the space. Either way, taking a systematic approach allows you to see results, albeit small ones, from every task you complete and helps to increase your motivation to continue. There is no need for any fancy tools or equipment when it comes to decluttering your home. All you need is 5 bins or baskets. You should label them as follows. Put away. The items you put in here will be those that have somehow strayed from their original storage space. They need to be put back in the correct location. Recycle. This is for items that require recycling like paper, glass, and plastic. Mend or fix. This container should be used for any items that need repairing, cleaning, or mending. Trash. If the item is no longer needed by any household member, and it would be no good to donate or recycle, throw it in this bin to put into the household trash. Donate. If you don't want an item anymore, but a charity or another person may want it, you can put it in this basket. Tackling the floors, drawers, and closets. Once you've got your baskets prepared and your strategy laid out, you can begin tackling the floors, drawers, closets, and cabinets. It makes sense to begin in a single room, work through it completely, and then move on to the next. It may be a good idea to begin with your bathroom, since the clutter here is likely to be relatively minimal. Begin with the medicine cabinet. Discard any outdated products, makeup, or medications, and immediately put all items to keep back in the cabinet. Move on to the drawers. Take everything out. Decide what needs to be kept and what needs to be thrown out, and then put the items you want to keep back in the drawers. Repeat with the tub and shower and any other items from under your sink. If any items remain that are not trash, sort them out quickly into the 5 baskets so you can deal with them later. The bedroom is a bigger task. It makes sense to begin with your nightstand. Remove anything that doesn't belong and sort it into the appropriate basket. If there are any items you don't use, like an empty tissue box, a broken charger, or a pen that doesn't work, get rid of them. Next, move on to the chests, bureaus, and dressers. If any clothing is strewn around, put it in the laundry basket if it needs washing, or into the put-away bin if it needs to be hung up or folded into a drawer. Empty your bureau, drawers, and cabinets and put any items that are still in good condition but that you no longer wear into the donation basket. Put away all the remaining clothing neatly. No matter how tempted you may be to simply put the items back into drawers or cabinets, avoid that temptation. Put them into the put-away basket and deal with them later. Throw away or recycle any items that haven't been used for 6 months or more. The closet is the next big job. The easiest way to tackle it is to sort clothing items by type. Go through each category and sort your items into 5 piles. One will be to keep and put back in the closet. One will be for any items that are in the incorrect place. One will be for dirty laundry. One will be for items to be dry cleaned or repaired, and one will be for items to be donated. Moving on to the entryway, you'll find that even the smallest space will have some clutter to be dealt with. If you have a side table, console, or desk, tackle that first. Remove all items in the drawers and decide whether to toss or keep them. If you have a hall closet, declutter it in the same way as your bedroom closets. The kitchen is a major space to address, and it can also be the most challenging to keep clutter-free in the long term since so many activities take place there, from cooking and eating to socializing. You'll therefore have lots of items in it. You can opt to either go through each zone one at a time or focus on a single category of an item before moving on to the next. Completely empty your chosen space. Evaluate each item. Throw away anything that is unnecessary, then put the other items back tidily. The upper cabinets and pantry are a good place to begin before moving on to the drawers, under sink area, and lower cabinets. Last of all, focus on the countertops and try to move as much as possible into storage spaces. The final area to tackle is the living room. This is an especially difficult space to address since it sees a lot of use and may lack storage. To begin, decide on where you're going to store all your commonly used items like your books, magazines, and remote controls. Then begin decluttering your side tables, console, and bookcases before moving on to your entertainment center and coffee table. Put any books away. If there's any paperwork to deal with, put it to one side and fold up any blankets. Check your electronic items and get rid of any that don't work. Store any gadgets, controllers, gaming equipment, and chargers in a convenient but hidden location. Lastly, if there are any toys lying around, assess them for damage and check if they still work. If your kids don't play with it anymore, recycle it. Put any remaining items away tidily. Bringing in help. When you're trying to organize an entire house, it can be a major job, especially if you're living in a large household. If this applies to you, it's time to bring in some help in the form of your friends or family. Draft the kids in to help declutter their own rooms and to put away their own items. Make sure they know where key items will now be stored away so they know where to put them back after use. If you have no friends or family to help you, you may be able to find a cleaning service that will give you some assistance with the task. Top tips for home organization. Need a few more tips to help you organize your home and your mind? Here are some of the best. Begin in one place. Decide which space is your top priority and start there. Focus on it until it's completely finished before moving on. Allow enough time. Have realistic expectations of how long it'll take you to thoroughly reorganize your home and schedule a few hours every day to the task in hand. Take an inventory. After any unwanted items are removed, inspect what remains and decide if it's in the right or wrong place. Anything that would be better off somewhere else, move it there. Check for wasted space. Are there any additional areas that could be put to work for you? Spaces under beds, over doors, or under sinks may be overlooked but may hold valuable storage room. Think vertically. This is especially important if you live in a small home. Maximize your storage by shelving right up to your ceiling. Divide up spaces. If you add more shelves to a single shelf or use stacking containers or baskets, you can divide up vertical spaces, maximize storage, and keep everything looking neat. Consider wheeled storage units that can be moved around or stored in a closet when not being used. Remember the key words: flexibility, accessibility, and visibility. Choose transparent containers or ones that you can label easily to save you time. Ensure that you've put the most frequently used items in a space that is easy to access, and choose an adaptable storage system that can be reused and reconfigured to suit your changing needs.